Hey, it's JC1424 once again with another album review, and today we're going to be talking about Linkin Park's fifth studio album, Living Things, released in June of 2012. For the longest time, I did not have my own copy of this CD until my mom found out about that, and then she got it for me for Christmas just last year. So, thanks, Mom. Cool stuff. The first time I wound up listening to this album, and well, giving it a few listens, was when I picked it up from the public library, which is still not far from where I live, and I was starting my freshman year of high school, doing band camp and whatnot, and I ripped all the tracks from the CD, and I would listen to it on the way to McDonald's and on the way back on my PlayStation Portable here. So yeah, good times. I kind of miss those days. I need a new memory stick so I can do that stuff on my PlayStation Portable. But this was 2 years after their concept album, 1,000 Suns, and then 2 years before their album, The Hunting Party, which I just did a review like a week ago. If you want to check out that review, should be a link to pop up in the top right of the video. Maybe that part of YouTube is defective now. Not entirely sure, but let's get into this. Track 1 is one of the singles, Lost in the Echo, as in words that were said and thoughts that you have just falling into nothingness. Like they're losing their meaning and you can't do anything with them. This is a song about deception and abandonment from someone that you love. The lyrics are some of the strongest in their entire discography. It comes off to me as basketball metal, which is probably a solid representation for what a lot of this album winds up sounding like. It's a combination of EDM and techno elements just on full display with the bass, the treble of the ambience. The guitar is punchy and Chester uses all his voice. The medium range, the high range, some screaming, the smooth stuff, all of it.
Won't forget how I got this far, but every time saying and these promises broken, deep below, each word gets lost in the echo.
The second song on this album, In My Remains, is a great follow-up to the previous one by expressing brokenness and a desire to shed all of that and be resuscitated spiritually. It does maintain some similarities to that first song, but evolves in its own ways, such as these longer notes that are held vocally and these longer power chords. Then there's the 16-bit effect. You start to hear more and more of on this album, and in this one, it distorts the chimes and organ in the mix for both the intro and the verses. And one of the most significant parts of the song is Mike's section, where he sings about it all like it's an army that is meant to shield the spirit. And instead, it is leaving it unprotected from the grief that is being experienced.
And I fear and pain, broken down and waiting for a chance to feel alive. Knowing life remains, our promises that never came.
The third song on this album, Burn It Down, I Remember, being the lead single. It felt mildly generic and overly simple back then, and to be honest, it still does now. It goes the furthest in the direction out of any song on this album to be dance club / pop rock, and they promote the album with it. Questionable decisions, questionable choices were made on this one. It uses the same electronic / drum sound from the previous song, but it's more upbeat. Like for a school pep rally, I guess. It unites the audience on the concept of building trust or love, just to feel the impact of it being broken and lost. And then all of that so consequential ties into the next song on this album.
I built you up, but you let me down. So when you fall, I take my turn and fan the flames as your blazes burn. You were there at the turn, waiting to let me know.
Which is track 4, Lies, Greed, Misery. This could be a good song if it were executed better, at least in my opinion. Keep in mind, karma following betrayal isn't necessarily a difficult topic to write music about. The key is wonderful. The lyrics from Mike and Chester, they are splendid. The softer parts of the song and the organ in it, they lure me in. But the obnoxious style of the bass and the vocal delivery in the chorus just lose me.
And look at how you lose your composure. Now let me show you exactly how the breaking point sounds. I wanna see you choke on the lies.
fifth song, I'll Be Gone, is about feeling a disconnect and making a decision to just escape everything, despite what little still holds you there in a relationship. Like there's a little something to cherish, and you're choosing your freedom over that, even though it might hurt a bit. It is beautifully written, and again, some of the best lyrical content that you will ever hear from Linkin Park. But the instrumentation is just void of any creativity compared to the rest of the album. It is as good as the lead single for sure, and has more going for it emotionally in my perspective. Even performance-wise, they really let it out here. But that instrumental just doesn't really have much in it.
No deceiving now. It's time you let me know. Let me know. When the lights go out and we open our eyes, out there in the silence I'll be gone.
And then you've got track 6, Castle of Glass, which was another one of the big singles from this album. If this isn't currently my favorite, it's one of my favorites by Linkin Park. I was in chills and tears when they made their return just a while back and they began the show with this song. I didn't know what to do with myself. It belittles and pities self, but it finds a resolution by the end. That you don't have to be anything more than human in this freaking world that we live in. It's more classic and muffled with its percussion loop. The cadence is just elegantly nuanced, while it carries a dynamic that is similar to their other hit song, Breaking the Habit.
Warm me up in the Nova's glow and drop me down to the dream below. 'Cause I'm only a crack in this castle of glass.
And then the 7th song is Victimized, a Samuel L. Jackson tier motherfucking rambunctious smorgasbord of ooh, ah, yeah! It's a tad obnoxious in the production, I'll say that much. They really were screwing around when they made this song. I looked it up. They just ripped the kitchen sink out of the counter and chunked it into the damn studio. Rob Borden's going berserk on them drums. Mike is full of attitude. Chester is screaming his lungs out. And Brad Delson is doing some nutty shit on that guitar. I don't even know what that is. But it is some good old-fashioned karma / payback, but exerted in a traditional way. Some hard rockin' punk shit.
Victimize, victimize, never again, victimize. They're acting like they want to riot, it's a riot, I'll give them. As the siren climbs higher on this violent rhythm.
And then you've got track 8, Roads Untraveled, one of the best songs that Linkin Park has ever made. It was even featured in that Need for Speed movie, if y'all remember that. And that scene at the end's a nice one where he avenges his brother or something. But this is about regrets and partially friendship to move past all the hurt from a story cut short. Not hold on to directions that you could have taken in life and, just didn't go that way. There's no turning back and not think on it too much. It ascends to some gorgeous and stunning guitar chords. The woes in this song actually work. I have no complaint with them. It's kind of beautiful. The percussion is utter brilliance with that little loop that goes on and builds throughout the song. The piano is making a striking first appearance. If there was ever a moment on this album to finally bring in that piano, it was this song right freaking here. And Mike's voice is so tender. It is the best vocal performance of his entire career.
'Cause the love that you lost wasn't worth what it cost. And in time you'll be glad it's gone.
Skin to Bone is the 9th song on this album, and it is very much an it is what it is, you'll get what you fucking deserve type of song. It feels like Game Boy Advance boss level music, if you know what I mean. It's so bass and percussion oriented. It's void of any guitar. It's using them chunky but dainty little 16-bit electronics again instead. It makes it seem gimmicky, but somehow, some way, it all progresses so smoothly, melodically, and passionately. I can't lie, kind of resonates with me.
Let tomorrow have its way with the promises we made. Skin and bone, steel to rust.
Until It Breaks is the 10th song on this album, and it is all over the place, lyrically and sound-wise. The bass is some goofy shit. It sounds like Crash Bandicoot on some damn bounce crates. Ba-bonk, ba-bonk, ba-bonk. Then you got some DJ effects that are all over Mike's vague songwriting style that aren't appealing to me at all. It's kind of irritating, honestly. The harmonies, when Chester comes in, they sound nice. But the dynamic that is created by that is rather corny. And I would have to consider this the worst song in Linkin Park's entire studio album discography. This is worse than anything on their 2017 album.
Steady little soldier, I ain't standing next to you. I'd be laying on the ground before you're even in my view. Like give me the strength of the rising sun.
Anyways, track 11, Tinfoil, is an interlude. It also serves as an intro for the closing track, which we're going to talk about in just a second. It uses a muffled symphony that stays until the very end of the album. It's a neat transition, creates an aura around this huge grand finale of an ending for this experience, expressing and venting loss, abandonment, and betrayal, and trying not to hold on to these feelings and just let them go. And this is an album about living things, people, the stuff they go through. Track 12, Powerless, is the 11th and final song on this album, and it uses that primarily basic sound outside of the keyboard rhythm stuff, much like tracks 5 and 8, which were I'll Be Gone and Roads Untraveled. If you know that guitar, the drums, and Chester's voice, standard stuff. It does feel like an appropriate ending. It has this drawn-out refrain of the hook before dissipating, just like that, into nothingness. It's about the fate of everything you have with somebody being in their control, and then they do nothing with it, and then it becomes one-sided and the whole thing collapses. It leaves similar emotions to that of In Pieces, which is probably my favorite song from Minutes to Midnight, which we'll be talking about maybe in a week or so. It's piano-driven in a way that can go unnoticed because it seems contradictory to the actual feeling of the song, because the piano feels jazzy, but then the song seems, releasing a lot of sadness. So it's bluesy instead. But you're not going to hear New Orleans jazz and blues. No, nothing like that. But it is rare that a Linkin Park song is piano driven. There's only 2 songs on this album off the top of my head that are actually piano driven. There's maybe 1 or 2 at every album by them, and then probably half the songs or most of them in their 2017 album, but that's a different story right there. My final score for Linkin Park's 5th studio album, Living Things, released in June of 2012, is an 87%, which is a solid B. I think it treads borderline B- territory because of these songs that I don't like, or that, they're only good, they're not great in my opinion. It's a hit or miss experience. It's kind of all over the place. Off the top of my head, I think I consider 4 of them to be some great songs, and then 5 of them are good. I'll call them good songs. I would return to them. But then there's these 2 songs that you already know which ones they are that I consider them barely listenable at all. And it's an acquired taste, but there is remnants of a lot of what Linkin Park started with that makes it sound like Linkin Park, and then that signature sound that was in that last song, Roads Untraveled, and I'll Be Gone. So you get to hear experimental stuff, but for the most part, it is Linkin Park. See you next time. That's that, and album review over.
You held it all, but you